The day is February 27th, 2025. It is the 29th anniversary of Pokemon, and that means it's Pokemon Day. So today on Grow Up Level Up Gamers Club, we are going through all the announcements, including our reactions to Pokemon Legends ZA and Pokemon Champions. This is the Grow Up Level Up Gamers Club. Let's get into it. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, that was smooth. I'm
That
nailing them.
was. Yeah.
Welcome to the Grow Up Level Up Gamers Club. My name is Samson. I almost said my name is your host. My name is Samson, aka Samson XP on the interwebs. And of course, joined to me is Sir Dr. JM, aka Jordan.
That's me. I'm here
I'm
in
here.
body
Yeah,
and spirit.
speaking of body, if you're come over to YouTube and check out Jordan's cool Hawaiian shirt.
Oh,
Is it a
thank you.
Hawaiian shirt or
Oh, yeah.
vacation
I have
shirt?
matching shorts for it. So,
Oh, okay. Wow.
yeah.
Interesting choice in February, though. I feel like I'm not in the summer mood yet.
It's warming up in Alberta. So,
Really?
got to take advantage of it. Yeah, we were in
Yeah,
the
0
deep
degrees,
freeze, right? And it was like 8 today, I think.
Oh, amazing, amazing.
Yeah.
For those who are joining us for the first time on Grow Up, Level Up Gamers Club, we like to talk about the games that you should be playing your 5 to 9 after your 9 to 5. And the reason why we take that angle is because, Jordan and I, this is not our full-time job. We do this for fun, and we try to squeeze in our gaming time for fun, too. So I hope that by listening to this podcast, you get a little bit of recommendation or some knowledge into the games that you should be investing your precious off time into. We also talk about new games, reactions, topics, all the cool things happening in the gaming sphere with a Canadian focus, kind of. Speaking of Canadian focus, before we dive into the Pokemon Day announcements, I kind of want to shout out an episode of a podcast I caught recently by fellow Canadian. Definitely somebody we have talked about before, excuse me. And that is Naomi Kyle. Yeah, I like
I didn't know
literally
where
just
you were
last
going
week,
with
right?
this.
So Naomi Kyle has a podcast called This Week in Gaming, and on that podcast, she just literally talks about This Week in Gaming. If you're watching YouTube, I do not know how to get rid of that little graphic on the side. Anyways, just showing my little Spotify window here. But there was a new episode of This Week in Gaming called Marvel Rivals Censorship Controversy and Are Gamers Ditching the 100-Hour Game? And I think on that episode, it's really short, like 24 minutes. She talks with other Canadian Victor Lucas from the Electric Playground, talking about an article that came out that apparently did a study, and a lot of people are starting to move away from 100-hour games. And I think they in the PC study they said in the study they said PC gamers only game 5 hours a week, which
Boo, PC gamers.
I think console was
Step your game
around
up.
that as well.
No, console more, definitely. We are the hardcore.
So I thought that was really interesting. So if you have time, check that out. I think it's on podcasts everywhere. This Week in Gaming, Marvel Rivals' censorship and controversy, and Are Gamers Ditching the 100-Hour Games? I mean, I was never someone that dove into Assassin's Creed or open world games like that too, but I feel like I am playing a lot less long games nowadays. What about you, Jordan?
I don't know. It's kind of a mixed bag for me. I was actually just talking to a friend about this. Of course, people, avid listeners and watchers of the show will remember that I started the year by getting Metaphor Refantasio, which of course is a 100 plus hour JRPG in the vein of the Persona games, obviously made by the same team and everything. And I had, of course, played Persona 4 Golden for over 100 hours. I am typically someone who dives into these open world games and will spend a lot of time in them. Elden Ring, Horizon, Ghost of Tsushima. Gosh, I can't even think of any other ones right now. The Spider-Mans, yeah. And even a game like Spider-Man, where I think a lot of people kind of flogged the second one for being a little shorter than they expected, or maybe they wanted. For me personally, I do spend a lot of extra time just exploring every nook and cranny and kind of enjoying myself in that sense. So, um, yeah, I mean, I definitely, though, I would say I go through phases. Right now, I'm honestly on kind of a kick where metaphor's not doing it for me. I just don't. It feels daunting knowing how much I have ahead of me at any given moment. And, I'll sink 5 hours into it and be like, all right, we're at 50 hours now, halfway, maybe, right? So I am actually right now, I'm on kind of a kick of playing some shorter experiences. So,
Ooh.
yeah.
Um, yeah, for me, like I said, I never got into those 100-hour games. Like I tried really hard to get into Assassin's Creed and Far
Mm-hmm.
Cry, um, and like Persona as well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and and I don't know, it's something. It is daunting. I think that's the one thing
Mm-hmm.
about it. Like I know this is going to be great, and I know at the end of the experience it's going to be great. Like when I was younger, I've played a lot of Final Fantasies and so there's another. World Ends with You. I think that was a very long
Oh,
game
yeah.
as
Yep.
well. So I know on the other side it'll be like super amazing, but
Mm-hmm.
as well, like with our limited time, we say 5 to 9, but really, like tonight after this episode, I'll be playing Monster Hunter for maybe like an hour,
Mm-hmm.
and then I gotta go to bed.
And
Stuff
Monster
like that,
Hunter
right?
is one of those games that people will get
That's true.
lost in and spend, hundreds of hours. So,
That's true. That's true. Although, and maybe we're tangenting here, but I did pick up Monster Hunter just before we recorded this show, and on the day that this releases, it's Monster Hunter
mhm.
release day. Happy Monster Huntering,
Happy
everybody.
hunting.
Uh, but yeah, it's like I heard the story's only 20 hours, and I'm like,
Sure.
okay, like
Yeah.
that's good enough for me, honestly. I just want to see some
Mm-hmm.
cool monsters, maybe play with some friends. Heard the
Mm-hmm.
story is actually good, and 20 hours is definitely like more than enough.
Yeah.
And then if I want to go further than that, I have a reason to, and the game
True.
continues on. But I also don't have to.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, and I also feel like I need to read this study because now that we're talking about it,
Mm-hmm.
I want to actually dive into it. I found that um, uh, like I don't know if it's counting those times in the days where you're just doing a quick round of Marvel Snap on your phone, or
Right.
a quick round of Pokemon Pocket on your phone, or whatever you're playing on your phone. I wonder if they're
Mm-hmm.
including those times, or is it really like sit down at your PC, sit down at your console, and you are doing this task, and that's your game
Right.
time. So something to look into.
Yeah. Totally.
So let us know in the comments. How much do you game a week? Do you game more or less than before when you were a kid? Or maybe is it the same? When you grew up, you're just like, well, gaming's a priority and I'm going to keep doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Let us know in the comments. But we're not here to talk just about how much games we're not playing. Part of the fun of the show is getting to look ahead and talk about the games that we will play eventually one day. And happy Pokemon Day, everybody. We got some sweet announcements today.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to go through all the announcements really quick, and then maybe we'll talk about everything overall, and we're going to dive deeper into the games. Does that sound good, Jordan?
That sounds great.
Awesome, awesome. And of course, if you're listening, let us know in the comments what you thought of this Pokemon Day 2025. Like, did they announce what you want? What was missing? Something we rambled on last week was definitely missing today.
Hmm.
So let us know in the comments below. But on today's Pokemon Presents 2025, we had an update for Pokemon Cafe Remix with Appleton drink. It actually looked very delicious during the show. We had an announcement that 4 new episodes of Pokemon Concierge are coming out, which I heard was pretty cool. And
Mm-hmm.
seeing the trailer again, I'm like, oh yeah, this is like a very slice of lifey
Yeah.
kind of show. We had Pokemon Sleep Cresselia versus Darkrai event. So
Yep.
nightmares versus dreams. Yeah, I mean
Yep.
the theming works. It's just kind of like
I mean,
very
I'm just saying, I called it. I called nightmares, and
true. True. You're
this is
right.
not
You're
what
right.
I envisioned, but it's
They
along the
made it
same
work.
lines. So,
They made it work.
yep.
We got Pokemon Masters EX 5.5 year anniversary. Kind of funny that
Naturally.
they made that a thing, but more gotcha if you're into that. Pokemon Unite is getting 3 new Pokemon. We're
Mm-hmm.
getting Suicune, Alolan Raichu, and Alcremie. And then Pokemon TCG Pocket for us.
Mm-hmm.
New set coming out, I think like tomorrow, which is
Tomorrow,
like
yeah.
technically tonight, right? Like by the
By
time
the
everything
time you're
rolls
listening
over.
this, it's
Al-
probably
Also true.
out.
Also true. Pokemon TCG Pocket Triumphant Light. So naturally Arceus or Arceus after our Dialga and Palkia packs with more new Pokemon and whatnot. And
Mm-hmm.
then the two heavy hitters. We got a real trailer for Pokemon Legends ZA or ZA as Canadians say it, or as we
ZA.
like to say it, ZA.
Za.
Pokemon ZA. And then an announcement of a new game called Pokemon Champions, which will
Mm-hmm.
be on Switch and mobile and focusing just on the battles.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to be interesting. Um, Jordan, where do you want to start? Which announcement do you kind of want to touch on?
Whew, doggy.
Pokemon Nightmares or Sleep Nightmares?
I mean, do you have much to say about Pokemon Sleep? Because I don't. does
Definitely not.
Does anyone have much to say about Pokemon Sleep? Because I don't know who is using or playing. I don't even know if you can call it playing, but I don't know who is experiencing Pokemon Sleep.
It's so funny because before Pokemon Sleep came out, I was like so into the idea, but then it came out and it was like, oh, it's like a real like
Did you try it?
min-maxer kind of game. I tried it for like maybe a week. I think
Oh
by
man.
like the third or fourth day, I like forgot to put it on one night, and then I was like, oh, okay. I mean, but I woke up and like nothing was lost, nothing was
Yeah.
gained.
Yeah.
I know I have one buddy who bought that Pokemon Go Plus
Yep.
Plus
Yep.
little clicker,
Yep.
and he
Sleeps with
apparently
it
he's
on.
played. Yeah, he slept with Pikachu snoring or whatever beside him. Um, but I don't think he's playing it.
Dang.
I just have bad sleeping habits.
Yeah,
Yeah,
me
and then
too.
everything else. I do want to get back into Pokemon Unite, but
Oh yeah.
I want like a PC version. I don't want to play on my phone or
Did it
the
never
Switch.
come to PC?
No, just like people
Oh.
do play on PC through a Android
I'm.
emulator.
Yeah.
Allegedly. Actually, I don't think they're legal.
Yeah.
But yeah, they played that way. But yeah, I want like an official PC client.
Yeah.
Use my mouse and keyboard
That'd be
kind of thing.
nice. Yeah.
Um, well then, why don't we start with the two heavy hitters?
Yeah. Let's do
Pokemon
it.
Legends ZA.
Hmm.
Uh,
What were your impressions of this
ooh,
reveal? Since you are the Pokemon gamer
the Pokemon gamer, relatively.
here.
Um, let's see. I'm just throwing up the trailer here for those who haven't
Hmm.
seen it. Of course, Pokemon ZA now confirmed, semi-confirmed for late 2025 is a Pokemon adventure in the vein of Pokemon Legends Arceus, except instead of taking place in like a Breath of the Wild open plains area, I believe this entire game takes place in a city. So maybe closer to a Grand Theft Auto. I was thinking. Um, so overall, my thoughts are that I mean, it looks a lot better than Scarlet and Violet. I was telling Jordan off camera that like, hey, I started playing Scarlet again and I'm almost done. Like,
Hmm.
I getting through the game. Definitely looks a lot better. It looks interesting. It's definitely something that they haven't done before.
Sure.
Of course, colorful characters, lots of little mysteries and tidbits that they sprinkled through
Hmm.
everything. Like this 8 foot tall man, if you're watching
This 8 foot
the
tall
thing.
man
Although
who's
I did
totally
play
a
XY, I know that got written
Pokemon.
as. That's I heard he got a tail or something. Um,
Yeah.
but I think the most interesting thing is going to be, and what I really liked Legends for was that it was more of an action game than a
Hmm.
turn-based RPG. So in Legends, you were dip in, dive in, aiming, throwing balls. You had to actually hit your shots, and then
Hmm.
it seems like those mechanics are still in this game. Although I feel like it's going to be less intense because instead of hills and cliffs, you're just kind of going behind cars and stuff. And we'll get back to the wild areas, but it looks a little less dynamic, more or
Hmm.
less. However, the battles, if you're watching YouTube version, the battles look more dynamic. Like the positioning of
Interesting.
your Pokemon matters,
Yeah.
the um, the the length of your attack matters. Like your attack might not hit if it's too far, which is bringing more or less another level of of like strategy and
Hmm.
interactivity, becoming more like a fighting game than a Pokemon battle. Like back to Pokken tournament way
Oh
back when.
yes.
So that's the part that excites me the most. I think the battles are going to be more interesting if they are as dynamic as they make it out to be.
Hmm.
Plus Mega Evolutions, those are fun as well.
Always fun.
Hopefully we get some new ones. But that's what kind of hooks me right away is like new battling system, and it's a setting that we kind of haven't had before. But we can dive back into my comments about the setting in a little
Hmm.
bit, Jordan. What did you think of this trailer?
I mean, as someone who has never really gotten into the Pokemon games, and I don't really know why. I guess it's probably just mostly that Nintendo's not my preferred gaming place. Um, I was definitely interested in this one. When Arceus, the Legends Arceus came out,
Mm-hmm,
I was
mm-hmm.
a little bit like, it almost looked a little too watered down with sorry, I was distracted by what was happening in the video there. I thought it
Mm.
cut to like some horror game or something for a second there, but it was just like looking up at the roof.
We'll comment
Anyways,
on that in a sec. Yeah.
um, no, so sorry, I was gonna say that I thought that Arceus looked a little too watered down, like you were just running around catching things in this open world that was really kind of bland because they were making it work on a Nintendo console. Not to say that there aren't open world games on Nintendo consoles that do it well, but Pokemon games traditionally not known for their performance. Um, and I think a lot of that was kind of, to an extent, validated. I think people had a lot of complaints about the performance of the previous Legends entry. Um, but what really did kind of grab me about ZA was, of course, the battling, like you kind of highlighted there. It reminds me a lot of Ni no Kuni, which, of course, is an RPG type game that came out on I think the first one was PlayStation 3. The second one might have been PlayStation 4. Um, yeah, here we go. But it is similar, and that was kind of one of the draws of Ni no Kuni was uh, it was a similar kind of anime style adventure, and it was almost Pokemon knockoff. Like you were collecting these little critters that you
Oh,
fought with,
really?
that you battled with, but it wasn't strictly turn based. You would run around the field and your little guy would be out battling and you'd be telling it commands to do and things like that. So you kind of had to probably you don't have to do this in ZA, but you kind of had to manage yourself, but also manage your Pokemon or your whatever the critter was called. I can't remember now.
The
Um,
Ninomon.
your Ninomon, yes,
The
that's.
critters.
I'm sure
I like
that's what it was.
critters.
Um, but yeah, so it actually is very reminiscent of that, and I mean, obviously, there's some crossover between the style of the sort of anime style of it. Um, Now, Ni no Kuni was a game that I actually tried and then gave up on pretty quickly just because I realized that I wasn't really enjoying it. But regardless, that's kind of what drew me into that game, and that's what draws me into this is these sort of changes to the battle system. It does look a little more active, a little more engaging. Not to say anything bad about turn-based. I mean, like I said, I'm playing Metaphor right now, and that's entirely turn-based. So, just something about that kind of draws me in a little bit more. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, you mentioned some hesitations about the setting that I want to hear.
Yeah, so I do like the setting. I do like
Mm.
it, like going taking a step back. Pokemon X and Y, I did
Oh yeah.
like that that overall game, like Pokemon's first foray into 3D.
Hmm.
I think it gets a lot of flack because it wasn't perfect for
Right.
sure, but it did introduce a lot of cool things, and I think the most memorable mechanic was the megas, and it was
Mm.
kind of yeah, being able to be in a realized 3D Pokemon world.
Right.
So it was interesting when they chose to come back here before Pokemon Black and White, which is actually my favorite generation. Um, so with this city, with what they showed off, I did hear a rumor like a year ago when they announced the game that the entire game is going to take place in the city.
Mm.
I thought at the time, I'm like, how are they going to incorporate the snow
Yeah.
biome or the
Yeah.
desert? Even in Pokemon Sword and Shield, that map was more of like a ring, and they had like a
Oh, okay.
wild zone in the middle
Right.
that was like the desert and snow, and I was like, oh, that's like an enclosure we keep all the
Hmm.
Pokemon in, and that's
Hmm.
how they kind of worked in these different zones. Of
Yeah.
course, it's always kind of janky anyways in the Black and White generation. It's like, hey, we're New York. but if you go a little north, it's desert. Like just like New York.
That's
Um,
funny.
I think with this game, I think what gives me caution is that so far they've showed us like the little overhead diagram of the map a couple times now, and none of it looks
Right.
like mountains or desert or ocean,
Hmm.
um, which is fine. It's a choice, but I'm just wondering how they're going to fit those different types of experiences in there, how they'll naturally have Pokemon like appear there. Um, my theory is that there are certain buildings that are like simulating climates. That will be
Oh,
like the dungeons or caves. So it's like, oh,
right.
this building, hey, we're housing ice Pokemon in here. So if you
Hmm.
come in here, you can catch them, and it's like Snowy Mountain and all that. I don't know how many of those there are going to be, but
Hmm.
that's one way to get around it, I think. Um, and in the original game, Lumio City is not very big.
Okay.
Um, like it's the biggest city, but
Yeah.
there's one thing where the Eiffel Tower in the center of the city, like what you do is you ride your bike in circles around that tower just by holding to the side, and that's how you hatch your eggs.
Oh.
And it's like fast enough that you could just keep looping it around. So like that is how big the city was in X and Y. Of course, they
Hmm.
expanded it here, but it doesn't look like they're incorporating mountains or ocean
Right.
or desert or swamp or any of that in it. Um, so that's what gives me caution. Like I don't know how I'll handle a game where it's just all city. I mentioned it a little earlier, where one of the cool parts about Arceus was the dynamic landscape that looks
Hmm.
like Breath of the Wild. There's hills, there's cliffs, trees, like desert, and you have to dip, duck, and dodge around attacks like that.
Hmm.
Whereas here, it's like, oh, we have these wild zones. You walk in, and it's a street, a car. It looks like Last of Us. There's some garbage on the ground, and that's where the Pokemon are. It's like, okay, that's interesting. Um, so it'll be interesting to see how they incorporate those different biomes in there, because that is part of exploring Pokemon, is checking out like,
Hmm.
or part of the charm of Pokemon is like, oh, it's like animals like in real life. It's
Hmm.
you're gonna find the ice cream Pokemon in the mountain, just like real
Just
life.
like real life. They only sell ice cream in the mountains.
Yeah, where it snows
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. Do you have any thoughts about the setting, Jordan? Is a
I mean,
GTA style kind of Pokemon
it
interesting?
looks cool to me, honestly. I actually just Googled Lumiose City to see some kind of maps and diagrams of it and everything. And the interesting thing is now, like, obviously, I don't know where any of these maps or diagrams come from. I'm assuming past games. Um, but there's kind of an overhead shot that some people have done, whatever, blueprints of, where it highlights, obviously the sort of circular nature of it. You got the tower in the center, but then kind of coming out in five different directions from there are what look like these little hubs. And like I'm looking at one where it says Rogue Plaza,
Mm-hmm.
Jaune Plaza, Vert. Oh, these are colors. These are colors. This is French. It's
Oh,
Rouge
oui, oui.
Plaza. I see.
Yeah, yeah.
Vert Plaza, Bleu. Okay, okay. Yeah. So I could, potentially, and this is coming from someone who doesn't know for sure, but this is, I could easily see them just making these kind of spokes coming out from the center.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, we're going to stick little different biomes here. And I'm sure they'd have, like you say, some justification for that. Maybe,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, maybe there's a festival going on in the city during the game, and they've set up these little biomes to celebrate different areas around the world within the city or something like that. And surprise, one of them brought a mountain. You know, one one of them
Just in the
flooded the
middle of the mountain.
district, and
Okay,
now it's
okay,
the
yeah,
Ocean Plaza or the
yeah,
the Sea Plaza. Um,
yeah.
yeah, I don't know. I like this. I think it looks kind of cool. Again, I wasn't crazy. Another reason why I didn't really care too much when I looked at Arceus.
Arceus. Yeah.
Um, in that one, you went back in time, did you not?
Yeah, you're like a
It
child that got kidnapped or something. You went back in time.
okay, okay. I remember like the villages and things like that in
Uh-huh.
videos
Uh-huh.
being very like cottage style and things like that, and
Mm.
not modern day. So I do actually like the sort of more modern day look of this and everything. But
Mm. Oh,
yeah,
yeah. So you haven't played Legends Arceus?
no, I have not.
Oh, it might. I think it might pique your interest. It's not going
Oh,
to
you think
run
so?
the greatest, but it is very different than that. It's not very different, but it's more about like catching the Pokemon and
Mm,
than battling.
right.
There is, but at the same time, the battling mechanic is tweaked, so that's like it's a little faster and a little more
Mm,
action paced. Plus, it's really cool. I think of all the Switch Pokemon games,
mhm.
Arceus was the one that I enjoyed playing the most. Um,
Fair enough.
I don't think I finished it. I never figured out what the Legend Arceus was, to be honest. Um, but it was like enjoyable. I also think I'm almost done the game.
Ah,
I just fell off.
fair enough.
But it was really fun because it was so different.
Hmm.
And it was kind of the blueprint that was Scarlet and Violet, which is a
Yeah.
little more traditional.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just gonna share my screen one more time. One more little tidbit about the map.
Please do.
Um, just looking at the overhead of the city here.
I now know
Um,
that's the Vert district. It's
oh,
green.
oh, I didn't know. I didn't know you were a
The the
Lumio
the,
City native. No,
the green rooftops tell me that.
that it's the green part of the city.
That's right.
Yeah, there are mountains in the back, so I wonder if
Yeah.
there's like water on the south, and then maybe there's a desert to the left.
Ah,
So maybe there's parts of the game where you kind of
go
just branch
outside
out
the
of the
city.
city, yeah, and see what's going on, and
Right.
then come back. Um, but yeah, like I like how it's different, so different. I just hope it's a good different.
Now
But I am excited.
in my
I'm optimistic.
googling, I for images of the city, I was just realizing that one of the main images that I was looking at was posted 14 hours ago, and it says full look at the map of Lumio City in Pokemon Legends ZA.
Oh, what?
So I just sent you the link in
Yeah.
Discord if you want to pull that up. This has to be promo image or promo whatever art because it looks quite nice, and that's what I was thinking. I was looking at this thinking this looks really good for some fan art, and then so you see how the sort of bottom right section is green, so that is the Vert district or whatever. The bottom
Mm-hmm.
left is blue. Top left is kind of pinky red. Um,
Mm,
so each of those,
very
and I mean,
interesting.
you can kind of associate those with different types, right? Red
Mm,
would easily, be fire type or something like that. Green would be
mm.
grass type,
Yeah, you
probably
got
bug type
the
in there.
flame tail guy over
Yeah,
here.
yeah,
There's
yeah,
Flichinders everywhere. There's a
yeah,
Magikarp.
yeah.
I guess you could, yeah, kind of work the water Pokemon into the rivers that go through the park, little
Hmm.
aqueducts. Um,
The
I'm,
Houndooms,
I'm just zooming in. You got my boy Trubbish down here
Oh
in the
yes,
corner.
creeping.
That's my guy. I'm gonna catch him right away and use him in Garbodor. Um, you just mostly get like the birds, the pigeons
Yeah, yeah.
on this photo for sure.
If
Get
you
the
look in
rats.
the
There's a little Pikachu. Yeah.
sort of top right, you've got your Swablues up. It looks like there's some skyscrapers or something
Okay.
in the kind of northeast corner of the map there. Got your
Interesting.
Pidgeys and
Yeah,
yeah.
definitely some interesting buildings as well.
Now, also interesting that they do show some interiors here too, though. Top right of the image, you've got sort of looks like a mall
hmm
kind of thing.
hmm
Top left, that's probably a Pokemon Center or something like that. I have
Oh
to
yeah,
imagine.
yeah,
There
you're
looks
right.
like there's a Nurse Joy back there, a Nurse
hmm
whatever. Um, so yeah, I do wonder. I wonder what an open world city done Pokemon style looks like. I feel like
hmm
Arceus kind of showed us the outdoors for the most part. I'm guessing, right? You didn't go indoors too much in it, did you?
Pokemon
In
City.
Legends Arceus,
No, yeah, it was mostly all out.
roaming the countryside and the mountains,
I
and
think you had like a little hut as an apartment.
sure,
It's like that's about it. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So I do wonder what a more urban sort of center looks like in Pokemon style.
Pokemon Legends.
That's right.
Um.
Oh,
Hmm.
there's a Tyranitar on that map too.
I know in the park.
Dang, just chilling in the park, being attacked by Godzilla here.
That's what I'm wondering. Is like, how are they gonna work some of these things in?
Yeah,
Well, there's always the chance you could go underground. So maybe that's how they work some of the caves in.
right. That's a good
Um,
point.
what about
Caves
going in the sky?
could lead anywhere, right? Could lead you right to the mountains or the ocean. You never know.
Oh, true, true. Yeah, you take an underground tunnel to the city. It's like this is how you sneak out of the city. It does look like a
And
walled city.
what is one thing that real life Paris is known for? The catacombs.
Whoa! No
Yeah,
way.
yeah, yeah.
No way.
We're
Could you
going in.
imagine? That's where the ghost Pokemon are in the
Yeah,
game.
there you go. Go
You
into the
got it.
catacombs of Lumio City.
Oh my goodness. I think you're onto something there. I think you're onto something. I don't want to put a pizza bet on it, but I feel like that's going to be a...
You don't want to put a pizza bet on Pokemon
Well, because
Za.
I agree with you.
It's in the name.
Pokemon Za, the Paris catacombs, it all,
That's
it's all
right.
coming together. It's all
It
coming
is.
together.
It is.
No, because I agree with you. I think you're right. That'd be wild. And then just like maybe some spooky Pokemon down
Yeah,
there. Yeah,
totally.
cool.
I
I
mean,
like that. Well, just
We've
more
got
excited.
what's his name, Lantern Candelabra guy in the top right of this image.
Oh,
in that
Chandelure.
mall. That's it. Yeah.
Chandelure. Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's
So
true.
I
It's
mean,
just
you know,
chill.
there's potential for other spooky spooks, but
Yeah.
definitely
I think. Yeah. Oh, I'm excited for the game. Shout out to my
Cool.
friend Camille who lives in Putty or near
Oh,
Putty
really?
in France. Yeah.
nice.
I might name my character after Camille because it's a fun name to say.
Shout out to my friend Zach who lives in Montreal, who is not French Canadian, but he lives in Montreal.
Oh, okay. Montreal
French,
is
you know.
known to be French. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, exciting stuff. Well, shout out to Lumio City. Can't wait to
Yeah.
go there. On the way there, we might encounter a Pokemon battle or two.
Ooh, might we?
Because the next announcement that was more or less a surprise
Mm-hmm.
announcement. I don't think anybody expected this. Is Pokemon Champions, emphasis on the P. Just gonna throw up the trailer here.
I'm glad I'm not the only one that noticed that, because I was like, why the red P?
Oh my gosh! So
Is that a
before we
thing?
dive into it, I thought it was called. I didn't even see the word champions at first. I
Thought
saw
it was called
Pokemon P.
P?
No, I was like, oh wait, oh, it says champions. I was like those kids in this trailer watching something too close to the screen. But Pokemon Champions seems like a game focused just on battling,
Mhm.
a la Pokemon Showdown or not
Stadium.
Pokemon Stadium, Battle Revolution on the Wii. I was mixing up the Showdown, the kind of battle simulator game that's played on PC and mobile. That pretty much like if you're playing competitive Pokemon, you're playing Pokemon Showdown.
Right.
Then you just kind of like render your Pokemon out into the game to be able to go to these tournaments.
Cool.
But what Pokemon's Champions looks like is just battling, and it's going to be on Switch and mobile. So I think we're coming for Showdowns' market share, which is already like in a gray area. I think it's like just a really sophisticated Pokemon calculator.
Okay.
But it also does use some Pokemon assets.
Is it
So
not
this is
official?
like- no, it's not official.
Oh.
It's like a fan project, and
I
they
have
somehow
no-
get around the
Oh.
IP whatevers
gonna
because
say.
they're just pulling in the stats that are officially online, and then I don't know how they get the assets, but I mean it's
Huh.
not illegal to look at Pokemon images,
Images.
online, is it not? Right.
Interesting.
So this seems like it's going to be a catch-all of all the generations. It's just on battling. In the trailer here, it shows Mega Charizard
yeah.
X versus a terrestrialized Dodonzo. So they are encompassing everything. Then the title comes Pokemon Champions. Looks like a title belt, like
Yeah.
wrestling, and now in development. So it might be a while until we see what this is. Hopefully not too long, because in my crystal ball, I feel like this is going to be the Pokemon, like when they do Pokemon competitions, this is what we're going to be looking at going forward. They
Right.
can, so that the VGC isn't tied with games or
Right.
anything like that.
I see.
I think it was a really cool surprise. I'm excited. Jordan, what do you think?
Yeah, very, very interesting to see this one, and I really appreciate some of the context you just provided, because I had no idea about that. I mean, I'm sitting here Googling Pokemon Showdown as you say that, and like I go to the link and I'm like, oh, this is very much not produced by Nintendo, Game Freak,
It's gray
DNA,
and looks like
any
a
of that, right?
calculator, right?
Yeah. So I was very surprised to hear that. That's why I asked, is this thing not official? I'm also surprised that Nintendo hasn't taken them down. as Nintendo is very litigious in that way. But
Mm.
like you say, maybe they're getting around it somehow. Anyways, an interesting one for sure. A little bit disappointing to me that we didn't. It's hard to say how far out this is, I would say.
Yeah.
Especially given the context that they did say or announce that it will connect with Pokemon Home. And I know that Pokemon Home is it's been around for quite a while now. And I think that's kind of one of the big things I've always seen online is people want to be able to use it more, right? There's tons of people that have, ancient Pokemon from games past in their Pokemon Home. And they've always kind of said, let me use this everywhere. I should be able to use this in every Pokemon game that allows me to, catch Pokemon and have them, whatever, as my party kind of thing. So I do see this as kind of a Nintendo or Pokemon Company, at least, listening to that, right? Hearing those voices that want to be able to use that. And by all means, it sounds like this is a good solution. Obviously, yet to be determined how it'll perform. I mean, they have the little watermark on the video that says not actual gameplay in a lot of the shots. And that does make me question, okay, like I see right now, I'm watching the trailer again, effects added, not actual gameplay footage. And I'm like, okay, so this is fairly conceptual, I will say. Yeah, there it is.
Trailer.
If they can pull it off, that's awesome. They've done this. They have done this sort of thing before with Pokemon Stadium and some of those other games you mentioned there. So I do believe that, there's a way they could do it, but it's also the online connectedness of it all and things like that. I don't know how much I trust them on that side. Now, that said, I haven't had a problem with, trading card game battling connections and things like that. Don't typically, I was going to say don't typically have a problem with, Pokemon Go. I realize that these are all different companies. It's all kind of the Pokemon branch, but the companies making those games are all different. They do mention as well, or they did mention that Game Freak is overseeing development of Pokemon Champions, which is being handled by the Pokemon Works. Now, I don't know what the Pokemon Works has made specifically.
I believe it's like a conglomerate of teams that do different parts of different Pokemon projects.
Interesting.
So it's not just one team. It's like a couple satellite studios.
What
I might be wrong.
I just Googled it, and what I'm seeing here is Pokemon Works was set up in 2024, so relatively new. Collaborative effort between the Pokemon Company and ILCA, and is designed to maintain the mobile version of Pokemon Home as well as prospective game development. And it says Pokemon Works has developed 2 Pokemon games in total, Pokemon Sleep and Pokemon Champions. So, again, I feel like we're dealing with a bit of an unknown quantity here, a bit of a yet to be proven, acumen when it comes to what they can pull off. Mm-hmm. I'm hopeful that they showed this trailer because they have enough of a proof of concept built already that they know they can do this. Again, regardless of when the Pokemon Works was formed, great to see that Nintendo, or I keep saying Nintendo because they're so ingrained with the Pokemon games to me. Great to see that the Pokemon Company is listening, is hearing some of these things, and finally kind of, okay, we're going to create a group that is dedicated to using Pokemon Home in sort of some of our other properties and some of our other paths. Pokemon, for as successful as Pokemon is, I do really feel like they miss out on, they could be much larger if they put some effort into some things. I truly don't understand why some of the complaints that you hear about a lot of the actual, traditional Pokemon games exist, because with the money that they have in the Pokemon Company and the money that they have that Nintendo has, I don't know why they aren't a shining example of a game running smoothly at 30 frames per second on the Switch, right?
Because they're still the number 1 IP in the world, even if they don't, right?
And that's true, but I just feel like, imagine how much more successful if they could get that critical acclaim as well. If every new Pokemon game was a 9 out of 10, a 10 out of 10, even an 8
Sure.
out of 10. Whereas I think, some of them just don't hit like that.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
so, anyways, in terms of Pokemon Champions, it's got the promise, it's got the right idea behind it. I just am hopeful, especially I mean, like I say, I'm not the biggest Pokemon gamer. I have these little pockets that I have gotten very into with Pokemon Go and with trading card game. But I'm hopeful for the real fans out there, the ones who do buy every Pokemon entry, um,
Mm.
who really enjoy the stuff, who again have a Charizard from whatever Fire Red or even further back in their Pokemon home that they just want to see come out of the Pokeball again, right? So
Hmm. Hmm. And to
yeah.
battle, which is
Oh, totally.
kind of going back to Pokemon's roots, which
Yeah,
is about the battling
absolutely.
and going through the gyms and the Elite Four. Um,
Well, and like
yeah,
just
yeah.
now my brain is just the gears are turning about this game specifically. If this is
What
tying,
catacombs?
yes, I'm emerging from the catacombs with ideas. There's such a there's such a cool idea that they have here. If this is battling, if it is online, if it is whatever, tying into Pokemon Home, to me, if I kind of put myself in the shoes of someone who, again, I don't know how far back Pokemon Home goes. Do you know how far it goes? Like,
I think it was introduced during the 3DS era, so at least like 2013,
so could
maybe a little
you?
later.
So what do you like? What's the oldest game you could have a Pokemon from in your Pokemon
Okay,
Home?
all
If
right.
you if you know,
I feel like I do know this. So
okay.
the
And I
so
feel
the
like you
year,
told us about a friend of yours who has a very old something, Charizard or something.
um, yeah, Lucas
That's what I
Gates,
thought.
a friend of the show. Yeah, he's got a real old one.
Yeah.
A Groudon maybe.
Okay. Okay.
I'll confirm with him.
Sure.
But so the reason why they remade um, Pokemon Red and Blue or Fire
Hmm.
Red and Leaf Green is because there wasn't a way to get Gen 1 and 2 Pokemon into Gen 3 and 4 at the time.
Okay.
That's why they did it. By Gen 4 there was like a really like not janky way, but like actually it is pretty cool. How you would get Pokemon from your Gen 3 games
Hmm.
into your Gen 4 games, like so Game Boy Advance to DS,
Hmm.
is you would have the Game Boy cartridge plugged into the bottom of the DS, and then you'd have your uh,
Your DS
Gen 4
cartridge.
games, your DS cartridge at the top, and there's like
That's
a
cool.
little mini game that you play within, and then the Pokemon like
Really?
transfer from one game to the other. And then this is where my memory get fuzzy, but there was still a way to move Gen 4 to Gen 5 because that was
Hmm.
still DS. And then I think by Gen 5 to Gen 6, so the DS to the 3DS,
Hmm.
you actually had to have two DSs, and
Oh God.
then you would like transfer them over
Right.
through this weird janky way.
Hmm.
So theoretically, at that time, there was a way to get a game from Fire Red
Yeah.
all the way up to Gen 6, which was X and Y,
No
and from
kidding.
Gen 6, it would go into Pokemon Home. So that was the original process, and then from then on, they kept Pokemon Home ongoing. It's cloud storage for your Pokemon. So that was a way to go all the way from the first generation till now.
Right.
And I think like now that they're maintaining Home, they're like, all right, like, and I think like many years ago when they first introduced Home, there was like a I don't know, like a story about this old woman. It's like, I just gave my granddaughter my Charizard from when I was a kid. It's like that's so that's the vision. So they
Okay.
see us taking our Pokemon and passing them down to our grandkids.
Okay. So expanding on that, where I was
Yeah.
going with this was how cool would it be to have a game that ties into your Pokemon Home and you have a Gengar or a Charizard or whatever from Fire Red that you have carried on through all these makeshift janky ways of transferring your Pokemon up through the generations. And even if you don't use that Gengar or you don't use that Charizard, how cool would it be to have your profile that pops up every time you go into a battle and you get an icon or something, you get a badge or something that shows on your profile? I have an original, technically Gen 1, but technically Gen 3. Let's just say maybe the badge indicates what game that Pokemon is actually from, the original game you brought that Pokemon from. How cool would that be to go into a battle for someone like me and see this badge for someone who has been playing since Fire Red? I think that would be awesome. Um,
Yeah.
and then for other people who also have that, or even who just are fans and know, holy crap, that badge is, means this guy has carried this Pokemon that long. Like, I think that would be really cool. And it kind of gives you, just another little nod to the fact that you've been with them for that long, right? It's kind of that, trophies or achievements. It's that way to display to everyone, hey, look at this, look at this accomplishment that I have, kind of thing. Whereas so many of these kind of things, there's tons of people I'm sure who are just sitting on their cloud storage Pokemon, and yeah, they might tell their friends, yeah, I have a Charizard from Gen 3, but like they can't show it off in any way, but this kind of gives them the ability to do that. So anyways, I see there's tons of potential there. And like, as someone who's a fan of video games and, digital collectibles in that way, just, big trophy hunter kind of thing, I would love to be able to show off something that I have in that way. So
Yeah. And then you use that your childhood Gengar to whoop your opponent's ass.
to whoop
Yeah, and
your kid's ass, because
whoa!
they need to get a beating before they get to
They
take on the responsibility of owning that Charizard. Once they beat
they need
you,
to
you
know.
pass on the Charizard. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so fun to speculate on what features it will have,
Yeah.
because it's like such a, I don't want to say blank slate. I'm sure they have ideas in mind, but
Yeah.
it's such an unknown right now. It's exciting to see what's
Mhm.
coming out next. This is where I get into the cautious optimism part
Mhm.
of this announcement. So the year is 2011, and Samson's playing Pokemon Heart Gold, Soul Silver on his DS,
Nice.
battling his friends at school. And he discovers Pokemon Showdown, and he discovers like builds and Smogon and all that stuff. So you start to look up what's the optimal Pokemon is, and it's this perfect Weezing with perfect IVs and EVs, and I'm like, well, I don't want to spend 30 hours fighting Ratatats to get my Weezing really fast, right? So then you head into not really the dark web, just certain parts of Reddit where people have ways to
Not
generate
really the
Pokemon.
dark web.
Reddit back then might have been the dark web. There are ways to generate Pokemon, because in the end, Pokemon is just ones and zeros. So then Samson installs this program on his computer. He changes the DNS file on his DS to connect to his home network.
Wow.
He fakes a Pokemon server, and then from his computer, he trades to himself perfect Pokemon for
Wow.
competitive battling.
Uh-huh.
So, and then later in the line, you learn that that's what everybody that plays competitive Pokemon does.
Yeah, of course.
Like, and Pokemon Company is just like, it's like, whatever, like, we need
Yeah.
competitors, right?
Yeah.
Like, we need people to come and people watch. So it was a great area. So I'm wondering, and I haven't looked into this since
That's
then. Like, I don't know
hilarious.
if that's still how people
Yeah.
train their Pokemon. And in the recent Pokemon games, they have made it easier. It's like, okay, we know you want perfect IVs for your Pokemon. Here's an item in the game that you can give to your Pokemon that will give them perfect IVs.
Yeah, yeah.
So they have made it easier, but I wonder if they like, what are the stops they'll have to get around that? To get around that. I don't know if exploitation is the right word, but it is cheating a lot of time ahead. Which also ties into like how the game's going to monetize and all that as well.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
do you pay money to rent Pokemon for competitions? Do you have to pay money to compete in like ranked or something? I don't know. So that'll be interesting. But it is exciting to see the battles become its own client, like the Champions client. So when we watch it on the stage, we're not watching a 20 FPS battle on Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Maybe we'll get like those crazy effects that were in the pre-rendered trailer. Yeah. Exciting stuff. Lots of exciting stuff, actually. This Pokemon presents. Do you have any thoughts on the last one we didn't touch on or did briefly? Pokemon TCG Pocket. Are you even still playing Pocket? I know.
Yeah. I mean, I am still playing Pocket. As I say that, I'll go into it right now and check if I can rip a pack. And I am still playing it regularly. I was gonna say religiously, but I wouldn't go that far. At the height of me playing it, like I was constantly in the app, even if I was just not doing anything. I'd just be like looking at my decks and stuff like that and thinking about it. I'm not quite in it to that extent now, but I see I can open a pack in 2 minutes. But I am making sure I get my 2 packs a day. Mostly it's a collectathon to me at this point. I want to complete the Genetic Apex series, which is, of course, the first one. I did complete the is it Mythic or Mystic Island?
Mystic Island.
Mystic Island.
Mythical Island.
Mythic. I'm in there right now. I should be able to just find it. Promo A. Anyways, so I got all 67 out of 67 or whatever Mythical Island. 68 out of 68, sorry. I need one more from Genetic Apex. That is a Venusaur EX. I'm just working up the pack points to get that right now. But of course, to do that, you got to rip packs. And it's just a long process. And of course, the Venusaur EX is 500 pack points. So it takes a while. And I think once I have completed those two, I might put the brakes on a little bit. Because I was focusing on completing those two, it meant that I really kind of hamstrung myself with respect to the Space-Time Smackdown packs. When I battle, I don't have enough Darkrai or I don't even think I have a Dialga EX yet. I know I have Palkia,
yeah.
But like I don't have a Yanmega. There's a ton that I'm still missing and stuff like that. And of course now we're getting Triumphant Light, the Triumphant Light expansion, which means of course I'm only going to fall more behind. And then it's do I start ripping Space-Time Smackdown packs or do I jump to Triumphant Light packs? So anyways, that's all a long-winded way of saying I'm still in it. I'm still enjoying it. But really, I think once I finally complete that Genetic Apex set, I might fall off a little bit more than I have already. I like to get the badges for the events and everything like that. And I mean, last week we, had some hopes and predictions for the Pokemon Presents. And one of the things I said was like, let's see some expanded events, right? Let's see more than just the traditional or the what we've come to expect with the 5 wins, 25 wins, and then 45 wins. And then the other side of that being 5 consecutive wins, right? And they do mention that there's new events coming. Again, I'm crossing my fingers that means different events, not the same kind of thing. But then, of course, on the final title card here, they say ranked matches are coming at the end of March.
Oh my gosh, I totally missed
something,
this. I was just about to complain.
I was going to say that's something that you had said you wanted. So now that you realize that, how does that feel?
I was literally like when you were done, I was gonna be like, I can't believe they didn't announce ranked. But no, ranked matches are coming end of March.
Yeah.
I'll tie it in what we were talking about in that we're kind of falling off the game. I'm also kind of falling off.
Yeah.
There's been days where I let 2 packs stack up. Some days I'm like, I just couldn't be arsed to go into the shop and claim my free market monies. Because I think in the end of the day, I like playing doubles. Competitive.
Oh, sure.
Like for these card games, like I like fighting for rank and going up and down, and the collection is part of the fun of that. Like having to make sure I build my decks optimally, pulling packs. I even don't mind listening to this Pokemon. I even don't mind spending some money to make sure I get the optimal deck along the way. Like I like those little puzzles that I had to do to competitive puzzling to rank up. So I think the lack of ranked really hurt the battling part for me. Like I didn't even play for the Cresselia because I was like, I could just hit auto.
Oh, okay.
And do that. So I didn't even end up getting that one. But with ranked matches coming, I'll see where I'm at the end of March. That's still a while away, a month away.
Yeah.
But that is a little more exciting than just another set where each day, like I have to choose between finishing Mythical Island or Space-Time Smackdown. Like as more and more packs stack up, and as you can only open 2 packs a day, like it gets like the FOMO's there, which is kind of the point of these gacha games, but it does get a little discouraging. I wonder if they'll ever make it 3 packs a day. It's like a big update.
I was gonna say I do wonder what they could play with in that sense, right? Like, they've got the systems built and everything to allow 2 packs a day, but they could probably say, hey, for a limited time, 10 cards in a pack, right? Or something
Ooh.
like that. And then
Yeah,
it's,
yeah.
oh, okay, now, essentially all it's doing is opening 2 packs for you. And they're just going to make it so you get doubles. But anyways,
Yeah.
I mean, that happens now. I've opened packs where I get like, whatever, 2 bunny ears or something like that. And I'm like, good
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Lord, worst Pokemon ever. Anyways, not as bad as Bidoof, but anyways.
Whoa, I'm a believer. What about the
um,
EVs we get every set? Thank
yeah,
goodness
true.
we get those.
There's one EV that the art, I'm just like, oh boy, this is real derp. But anyways,
I know which one.
um, yeah. No, yeah. So I don't know. I remember at the start of the year, maybe the end of last year, we said, we're hooked on Trading Card Game Pocket right now. We'll see where we're at the end of the year. And uh, right now, I want to say it looks promising, but I don't know if promising is quite as promising.
Mm-hmm.
Feels too good, It looks interesting, right? It looks like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, maybe with ranked, maybe that'll pull you in. Maybe, honestly, I'll try ranked as well.
Mm-hmm.
But again, like, I feel like I've hamstrung myself by not opening Space Time SmackDown packs now, right? So I'm already playing at a disadvantage where that's going to hurt me in ranked. But hey, we'll
Mm-hmm.
see.
Yeah.
There's still some viability from the old decks and everything too, which I do
PPG
appreciate,
EX,
right?
yeah.
I yeah, I do like that there does seem to be a pretty wide variety of decks that you play against and things like that, and you can have them. And sometimes it comes down to the RNG of what cards you pull, but I mean, hey, that's a card game for you, all right? So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Yeah, like, and this is my last comment on this. Like, the reason why Marvel Snap got its hooks in me and for so long is because it was just ranked. Like, the
yeah,
whole point of the game is to try to get more and more cubes,
yeah,
and to know when to snap and when to retreat. So,
hmm,
so I do like that constant climb.
right,
Not in every type of game, but in card games especially, I do like it. So,
hmm,
yeah, I hope it still has its hooks in me.
fair
I'm
enough.
a little more. I don't even know if you can call it optimistic. I'm
Yeah,
hopeful.
yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Cool. Well, if you're listening, what were your highlights and wishes for Pokemon Presents this year? I feel like overall, my last comment overall on the show, I feel like they're holding things close to their chest for next year. The big 30 blowout.
Yeah, fair enough.
I know Pokemon likes to celebrate these things. They did a big one for 25 and 20. So I'm hoping that this year is like like I don't even want to say quiet, but it's not.
Right.
They're not. What do you call it? It's showing their hand yet.
They're not. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
So I'm hopeful for that. Looking forward to Pokemon 30, of course. My wife and I are going to be celebrating that. We are big Pokemon fans, and hopefully we'll do something cool for it next year. Hopefully Jordan still cares about Pokemon next year.
So true. So true.
Well, yeah, let us know what your highlights were in the comments. As we close out the show, please don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the conversations we had today. I really liked Jordan's catacomb prediction. I am now crossing my fingers that that is a real thing. I'm going to, yeah, play some Monster Hunter after this. What are you playing this week, Jordan?
Um. Well, at this very moment, like I say, I'm not truly playing a ton. Of course, dipping into Overwatch 2 still with the latest
Oh,
perks
true.
update. Still dipping into Metaphor every now and then. But next week, I was very excited to see that one of the free games coming to PlayStation Plus is Dragon Age: The Veilguard.
Oh,
And
yes.
of course, when I got Metaphor, the big debate was, do I get Metaphor or do I get Dragon Age? And I'm pretty happy right now that I got Metaphor because now I will have both. So next week I'm going to be starting Dragon Age, and I'm pretty excited for that. So
Awesome. Awesome.
yeah,
Oh, wow. Oh, yeah, it's March. Oh, my
yeah,
goodness.
I know.
It's
I
next week.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's exciting. I'm gonna hop on some, like I said, Monster Hunter after this.
Mhm.
I hope he gets his hooks on me because I dropped a pretty Canadian penny for it. But
Fair enough.
it is what it is. Like, and hopefully maybe next week, maybe we'll do some impressions on Dragon Age Veilguard and
Yeah.
Monster Hunter,
Yeah.
two RPGs. Yeah, let us know what you're playing in the comments below. If you want to follow us, we are at Grow Up Level Up on all the socials. I am at Samson XP on all the socials. Jordan is at Sir
Sir
Dr.
Dr.
JM.
JM. That's Sir DRJM on all socials.
That's right. Sorry, I didn't mean to tee you up there. I was going to say
No,
it and
that's okay.
hesitated. Speaking of teeing you up, what's your wise words of wisdom for our episode today?
Man, this week, my wise words are going to come from the July 2011 issue of GamePro. Here it is. Now, if you saw that cover, that might give away the game that I'm going to read this quote from. But Samson, you have to take a guess at what game this quote is about.
Okay.
Now, the name, part of the name is in the quote, so I'm going to blank that out. I will say blank blank because it is 2 words. I considered a secret code so that blank blank characters won't lose. Now, if you think you've got it, hold that information because we need people to reply in the comments below and tell us what game this is about. Again, if you saw the cover, you might know. But maybe you want to hazard a guess if you're not super confident.
Well, I guess we'll find out next week.
All right.